Hey everyone, welcome to the final Vue stream. Um, Sharing Luis's screen right now, but stay on us for a second. Yeah, so we thought we got an interesting comment about something about the way Griptape works, and we thought it would be nice to maybe add it to the beginning of this, just to see if what's going on. Um, and maybe help a user solve a problem quickly. So we're just going to start with that, and then we'll jump into the Vue tutorial. So yeah, let me maximize your screen, Luis, and yeah, we're good to go. So um, the issue that we're talking about right now is that it appears that when a user or when a page is loaded, any page, and maybe we should just load a page and look at the network traffic to make sure this is the case. It queries node info, and we should look at what the purpose of that is, and figure out if we can eliminate it.
Yeah, so here's the node info, right? Query or
Yeah,
whatever.
you just hold on a second. I have some people I want to just invite to make sure I get the the URL to get to them. Okay, I'll see if anyone comes. Okay, so let me maximize this so I can see. Yeah, so can you refresh the page and let's look at all the traffic? Okay, so can you scroll up to the top and let's just go through and say, okay, the first thing that's happening is node info, then latest. Is latest a Griptape query?
Mm.
So that's getting the latest block.
Yep.
Okay, just want to see what all of them are. Then what's after that? I don't know what that is, but okay. Then why is there a code hash ahead of every? It looks like there's a code hash query that is ahead of everything always. What's going on there? These might be secret JS things, like we just don't know.
Yeah, I think this is when you query a contract. You need to get the code hash to do the query. We solved that already in Griptape. When you create a contract line, you can set the code hash.
So that's going to be in an updated version?
No, that's already in Griptape.
Oh, okay. So right now for these ones, we're not doing that. Can we do it and see what the difference would be? See them go away?
Sure.
That'd be cool.
So for this one, we need to get the code hash for this contract. So in this case is this, and you can set the code hash here.
Okay, so I just want to let's just lay this out for people who are watching. So basically, what happens is when you make a query, you need to include the code hash, and the code hash is what? Luis, does that represent the actual code of the contract, or it's like an identifier for the code of the contract? Is that right?
I think so. I mean, I'm not exactly what it means,
Okay.
but I know that is something that you usually, if you want to interact with a contract, you're being asked to provide.
But like when we created like a bunch of snip 20s that were all from the same contract ID, we got the same code hash. So basically, we're pointing to the number of the contract itself, which I think maybe is used for caching or something like that. I would say, if I had to guess, but I could be totally wrong. But anyway, the point here is that right now, when we make queries, we're doing for every query, we're first running a code hash query. So we're querying the contract saying, what's your code hash? Then we're passing that in and actually querying what we want. So that's basically 2 for every single query that could have been done. So to fix that, we added in Griptape when did we add this? Is it a new feature?
When did we add it?
I
don't recall
it's not new.
The version. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've had this. So basically, when you create a contract definition, or sorry, when you instantiate a contract, but from its definition, you can also pass the code hash at this point. That will eliminate that query. So you're cutting the number of queries in half. Now, it's not clear if that query is the type of query that actually will make big improvements. Like some queries actually need to go into the enclave and some don't. So it's not clear the actual benefit of this to us anyway. But as Luis said before, at scale, anything would probably help. So yes, you want to run this, Luis, and let's see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be really really objective about how this could affect performance. So you need to talk about something that is statistically provable that is causing a problem, in my opinion.
Right.
But yeah, let me see. Well, first of all, I think we need to find the query that is happening. Okay. I think this is a query for the auctions. Let me see what happens if we remove that.
We should probably, Luis, you should probably do it for the tokens, right? Because they're all the same, and so you can do it in one.
Oh, there we go. So as you can see, when I remove the code hash first, and this is not something specifically to Griptape, but there's a code hash call that is being done. And I think for this point forward, if I do again any sort of, let's say I'm going back here, the code hash is only being called once in the entire lifetime of your application. So it doesn't matter if, for instance, if I change the page and then I requery, only one query is going to be called.
Okay.
Once you got the code hash, right?
Right. But so the code, this improvement would be good for possibly, we don't know, but let's just assume that now, and poorly assuming probably, but that the code hash does add something to the performance. This would only be beneficial if actually in the type of app like ours, where we're querying like a bunch of different queries.
Yeah.
A bunch of different contracts, right?
Yeah.
But as you can
as you can see, when you do the code hash, you don't do that.
Okay, cool.
You don't need to query.
Okay, great. So that's that issue. The other issue that was pointed out was this issue of the first query when you come to the page is that you were doing a node info query.
Yeah, I think before we move on to that, let me just change in the wallet component. Also add the code hash for these ones.
Thing is, it's gonna. Do we in our JSON file? Do we have code hashes?
I don't think so, but I think that's relatively easy to add. So,
yeah.
And then a matter of copy and pasting. So the code hash for all of these are the same.
Yeah, so what Luis is doing right now is he's just querying the contract for the code hash in his CLI, and then he's including that directly into Griptape, which is probably a pretty would be a fine and sort of common way of developing, I guess you could say. And you leave off the OX. The only one that's going to be different is secret, right, Luis?
Yeah, that's the only one different. So let me just, whoops, copy and paste this stuff.
If you were using Emacs or VI or something, Luis, would this be super easy somehow?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And finally, the one for secret.
Mm-hmm.
Which is this one. Yep. So therefore, now if I refresh, we should have not. There shouldn't be code hashes all around. Well,
you didn't yet add it to the component, I don't think.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry.
That's good. We saw the code hashes there, and now you'll add to the component.
It's in the wallet. And then here, again, code hash, token.code hash.
All right. TypeScript.
And if I do a refresh, you can see that now
That's
just
great.
queries, no code hashes.
So then the other ones I see are now this is great. That's cool. It's just even nicer to just look at the console actually with that.
Yeah, the other one that should have can do that is the auction. The only problem with this one in particular is that you don't know ahead of time the code hash for that, right? Because
it seems like the code hash is based on the so I might be wrong, but here's the way I'm interpreting it. You upload your code to the chain compiled, and then you instantiate a version of that code. The code hash seems to be a representation or pointing to the compiled version. So every version that's compiling from the same code ID will have the same code hash. And that, so we would know because of the fact that we instantiate or we know which auction we're using.
Yeah. So, for instance, here you will only know the code hash by querying the code hash, right? Or the auction.
You're initializing a contract, but it's a contract of a certain type, right? We define that type when we create the factory contract, right?
Yeah, but so does that mean that it's going to be the same as the factory contract?
No, the factory contract is going to have its own code hash, but each of the auctions that it creates are going to have the same code hash for that'll be an auction. Yeah. So you don't need to query it.
Well, you will only know that code hash when you instantiate an auction, right?
No, because the auctions that are being instantiated are coming from the same compiled code on the chain.
Yeah, I understand that, but how do I get the code hash without having an auction?
Oh well, we have one, at least we have one auction, right?
Yeah. I mean, but that's
Sure, the first
the
auction that you
first time.
create.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as we, so you can
Yeah.
make it.
So the optimization is just after you create one auction.
Yeah, then you can put it directly in your code. But I think more importantly, let's look at the other one that that was brought up, which is this idea of checking, uh, doing a node info when you get to this site.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what is the point of this query?
I think the point of this query is to get the chain ID.
Okay. So if we could put that into a conf object that you when you grip the app,
Mhm.
right? Then we wouldn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the question is like, what is a node in what does node info take? I would say node info is probably, I have to imagine, and I have no proof of this, is the lightest possible query you can do resource wise. Because the query is the node itself that you're querying is just returning information about itself.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
not, it doesn't have to query, right? Because that node has been configured, uh, right? The RPC or whatever has been configured to have that somewhere. So it's like, it's sort of like going and asking for a JSON object on a server.
Yeah, I think that's surely how it works. I don't know if that needs somehow to go to the blockchain for some piece of information, but
Okay,
it seems to me that it's just all information is just related directly to the node itself.
right. Well, it's nice from a user perspective to be able to say certain things like this get done for you automatically, which helps you get up and running really quickly. But if you want to, you can do a more advanced gripping within configuration object,
Mhm.
would be a
Yep.
good, which will be fine. So
No,
if
no,
that's not
totally.
available, we can implement that for sure.
Yeah, that's not available, but um, there is another way that you can configure the Grip app is by using a config object that right now as
So instead of just passing a REST URL, you can pass an object that has more than one thing.
and this is not something new. This is also something that has been
Cool.
um, before, and essentially what you can pass in right now is, well, this is not the latest version
Hmm.
that we're using, but you can pass the broadcast mode, the res URL. If I install the latest one, I should be able to have the default fees.
You can do can you do an object that gives you the default for each of the specific messages that you're going to be sending?
I think it's for
No, that wouldn't make sense.
no, no, for the default fees that you pass into the when you instantiate the signing custom blossom client.
Yeah, but for that you have, it's not just
Yeah,
one key, is it,
yeah,
right?
you'll have 4 different fees which that you can set. You can
Okay.
set a fee for initialization, for upload, for execution, and for sending.
Okay, cool. So you can pass that object in when you grip the app.
Yeah, so
Okay, dope.
don't start
So we will add to that the sorry, the chain
the
ID.
chain ID. Yeah, we
Great.
can add that, and then you can just here chain ID, and that's it.
All right, dope. So that solves that. So then can you go to the back to the browser and like let's look at what are all these latest queries that are being made? Why do we need to constantly be getting what block we're on? Or what?
I think this is um Oh, I see. There's in the context for each query, there's a way to get the current height for a particular for you to use if you want to, essentially.
So we're running a set interval and asking for the latest block to make sure that our application constantly knows what the latest block is?
No.
It happens when you do the query.
It happens when you execute the query. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So, right.
I think the best way for this to handle then is not to do that.
Unless you ask.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you ask for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is kind of I mean, maybe you won't need to then provide that through the context, but by some other mechanism.
Okay, well, we can look into that. So that would be maybe another to do. So we have one. Basically, we had three things that we noticed that were where they were being possibly excessive. Let's just in quotes. That and solutions. So what's the? Is there anything else that's being queried?
These are the query itself.
If you go to the very top, oh yeah, those queries have the height in it. That's interesting. Anyway, what is the TX key in the info?
Well, this is not related
That's
to
Griptape. Okay.
Everything should be under what we are, the node that we're hitting, right? So these are the things that are being called.
So what is that TX key?
This one in particular, I'm not really sure.
Maybe that's a key that is called in Secret.js that you then use as the encryption key for local and for local encryption before you send to the blockchain to before you pass it over the wire. That might be what that is. In which case, it would be necessary.
Yeah, I think this might be something that is being called on Secret.js, but maybe if I can guess about it, it is when you instantiate the signing custom boson client, I guess.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, man. Well, I think that's good. So we'll make sure that we have the answer to that just in case it's asked. But I think in general, yeah.
Okay, so I think the auction items that we have is to set the chain ID in the config object and remove the latest block every time you query.
And set the chain ID when you grip the app.
Yeah. That's what that was the first.
Oh, I thought you were saying the code hash. Yeah, that's already available. Okay.
Yeah, that's already available. Yeah, the chain ID and the latest block.
Okay, awesome. I'm just gonna write that in the background. We can get started on the next phase for sure.
All right. Hopefully this is all clear for you guys. Okay. So let's just get started with the Vue app for the auctions. So today we are going to implement two specific features. The first one is creating an auction, and the second one is closing an auction. So let's see what we need to do that. So I'm going to go to the Secret Auction Factory docs to see what do I need to create an auction. So remember that when we were doing this on the CLI, we essentially needed to do a two-step process. The first step was to increase the allowance on the sell token contract, and then execute the create auction message on the secret auction factory contract. So that's what we are going to do in this case. So first of all, I think that we need to start working on some way to gather all the information to create the auction. And then from there, we can do the proper execution of both the two transactions that are involved in the creation of an auction. So first of all, let's do a create auction form that will handle all the input from the user. So we're going to create a new component called create auction. Well, actually, it happened to me the same that happened yesterday. So let's convert that into a page. So it's going to be its own independent page. Let's start writing the form for this. So we're going to create a form. We need an input for, well, a select to choose any token. So let's do here sell token. And let's do also big token here. So for both, we're going to show a drop down for all the different tokens, and also we want to set the amount for both the sell amount and the minimum bid. Now the next thing that we need to do is to set the so let me see what else do we need here. Minimum bid, the ansat, and the description. I think that's all. Okay. So let's create an input for the ansat. And also another text area for the description. So let's go back and see if there's that's all that we need for this. So create the auction. We need the label. We're going to auto generate the label, and I'm gonna tell you how to do that in a moment. And we need both the bid contract, sell amount, minimum bid, and SAT and description. Okay. So apparently that's all we need to create an auction. So let's go and plug this page in to our app. So let's go to the router. Let's import the create auction page. And create a pod for that. And go to our default layout to set creating a page for auction, a link to access that page. See how that looks. So here we go. Let's go to create auction, and as you can see, we have our form there. I'm gonna do some basic styling just to make this a little bit easier to read. There we go. I'll make this a little bit. And yeah, so as you can see here, we have drop down for the sell token, an input for the sell amount, a drop down for the bid token, set the minimum bid, and both the and set and the description. Now we're going to use daytime local for setting the NSAT, and I think we can start binding some state to handle the different fields for the form. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So in this case, we need a form type to handle all the different form fields. So I'm gonna write an interface for that called form or create auction form. This will need to have the sell contract, the sell amount, the sell amount. I'm gonna move this actually to another file, but let's just write down this here. Now for the bit token is the bit contract. And minimum bit. And set is going to be a number. And finally, the description is going to be a string. I'm going to move on this to the auctions factory contract. And this is the reason for this is because the auction factory is the one that is going to have the use the create auction form as the input object for the create auction message. And we're going to import that into here. So create auction form from contracts auctions factory. Oops, sorry guys. Okay, so now that we have that type, we can start just binding that to a reference. So let's do a new form that it's a reference of create auction form and undefined, and let's export this to our template. So now we can start binding values to this. So bmodel is form dot sell contract. Vmodel for this is form dot sell amount. The vmodel for this is form dot bit contract. Form dot minimum bid. Form dot end set. Form dot description. And that's pretty much it. Now we want to show the tokens as options for the both selects that we have. So I'm going to import the tokens from the data directory and export them as part of the exporting it to be available in the template, and then here just set the value for those. In this case, we need to do a b4 for token in tokens, token dot address display the symbol, and then finally token.address as a key. There we go. And let me just create a new object here. I'm going to make this well, I'm going to set default values for all of this. So that might cause a little bit of let me just think about what's a less annoying way to do this. I think it doesn't matter for now. So I'm gonna make all of this. This is not the best approach, guys, but remember, this is just for the sake of making things simple. This should be enough. Okay. And now finally, well, let's see if worked. I'm gonna put an option, an empty value as a first option for both. The sell token and the bid token, and I think that's pretty much it. Now we're able to select the tokens, and then let's see if we are going to be able to submit this form. So create option. Let's go back and create that option. And just print out the form to see what it looks like. Let's go back and select a few values for both sell and the bid token. Oops. Oh, I forgot again the button to submit the form. So again, just a few values and see how it looks. So as we can see, target object, the bid contract, the description, where it ends, the minimum bid, the sell amount, and the sell contract. So we need to do some adjustments to this, particularly when we bind the the ansat and the sale and the minimum bid. I think we're going to do the same approach as we did yesterday for the React application, in which we properly formatted the minimum bid and the sale amount when we create the contract. And I think I will do the same for when you set the ansat, I guess. So we don't need to, so this can remain as a string, and then the create auction will take care of the conversion. I think that's simple enough to handle. So now we have the form, pretty straightforward. And now we can start writing all the things that we need to create the auction. So remember that we need first to increase the allowance on the sale token that we're going to select. And then we need to execute the create auction message on the auction factory contract. So let's go to the auctions factory and create a new message function that will execute the create auction message. So I'm gonna call that create auction. That will return handle message. Right. And then we can, here we need to essentially write this message. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to rapidly format. And put it that here. So the message that we need to call is a create auction. So let's do that. Create auction. Then we need some way to set the label for this. I'm going to auto-generate the label later. Now the next thing is to pass in the information for the sale contract. So in this case, we need the code hash and the address. So in this case, the address comes from the form that we just created. So let's put the context, and then after the context, let's put a form, which is of time create auction form. Then the address is going to be it's going to get the value from the form sell contract, and we're going to find a way to put the code hash token there. But in the case of the bid contract, let's put the address form.bid contract. Now sale amount is form.sale amount. Minimum bid is minimum bid, and set. We're going to calculate that. some point. And finally, the description. Going to come from the description of the form. So now let's calculate the remaining things. So actually, sale amount and minimum bid should be also be calculated. So I know I'm combining several styles for namings, but it is what it is. So it will be easier to manage from here. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to take care about the sale amount and the minimum bid, I think. So in order to do that, I think we need to get we need to get the decimals for a specific contract. So we're going to create a new utility file that will have certain utility functions. In this case, I'm gonna call this format ML for token, I guess. It will take an amount, well, the address and the amount. I'm going to remove this for now. It's not longer relevant. And it will return string. For that, I will need to use the coin convert from Griptape. And also I will need to import the tokens. Data tokens, right? Now let's do token equals tokens find it.address, and let's look for the address that we pass in. If we don't find any token, throw an error, and then in case that we found token, we pass in the amount, use the decimals, we convert that to a chain. I think that's it. So essentially what we're doing here is based on an address, let's format the amount based on the number of decimals that that token has. So let's import that into our format ML for token. Let's use that to format the sale amount and the minimum bid. So format ML for token. The address is from that sale contract, from that sale amount. And we also need to make sure cell contract and contract. I need to do it for all of them. That's why I was referring to the best way not to this being so annoying. So, well, not annoying, but easier to manage. But I think this is fine. I'm just going to do it for all of the properties. So cell mount, bit amount, minimum bit, sorry, and I think that should be enough. So, previous validation, then format amount for token, form dot bit contract, form dot minimum bit, and that's pretty much it. Now, oh, I see. It's because of the return. Yeah, I think this is wrong here. I'm just going to make it the best way possible. So I think for that, the right decision should have been to handle that, all of it here, and then just set default values for all of them. I think that'll be enough to handle the situation. Yep. And therefore, no more issues here. Technically speaking, those can be undefined. But for the sake of the example, we are not going to care about that. Now, the other thing that we need to fix is the formatting for the ends at. So I'm going to create another function to handle that situation. So, but actually this is really a specific, so I don't think this is like any utility. This is very specific to how we need to handle the end set. So I'm going to just do a function here called format or that. well, actually, that could be that makes sense. So port function from literal to epoch value string, and then return date parse value dot there we go. And here from literal to epoch form dot and that. Now we have the sell amount, the minimum bid, the NSAT already in place. And I think the last thing is the label and the code hashes. Well, so let's do sell token code hash and bid token code hash. For this, another utility will be needed. Get code hash. Sorry guys, if apparently.
Hey, Luis.
Hey.
Hey. Sorry. Did something go wrong?
Yeah. The electricity went down, so.
Oh, your electricity went off?
Weirdly, but it's true.
We'll edit it out.
Yeah, no worries. I'm on cellular data right now, so that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, can you guys see my screen again?
Yeah, I can see it at least.
Okay, I'm just going to continue, guys.
Okay.
So, I was talking about getting the code hash for a specific token.
Hi.
So,
sorry about that.
Let me just do and token equals tokens.find IT address equals address. Remember, I'm not trying to write the best code possible.
Yeah, let me just check the. I'm just gonna look at my books really quickly. So I have
Your
the exact number.
mic is
or at
open,
least
Sandy.
close to it.
Hey, Sandy, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I need to mute.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yep. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, you can get the token back from this, I guess. Well, just for the sake of this, easy. All right, guys, I'm back. I think so. Let me reshare my screen. Can you reshare my screen, Sandy? Okay, thanks. All right, guys. So going back, we want to get the code hash from the form cell contract and for the bit contract. And code hash and that's pretty much it what we need. So well, we need to actually generate the label, but that's going to be something super simple, I think. So we are just going to use a UUID, maybe add a prefix to it. Nothing really fancy for what we're trying to do. So let's go ahead and install some dependencies here. Not a fan of doing this, but remember, this is just I think I don't quite recall how to call this, honestly. Let's wait for this to finish the installation and the running. And then I'm going to import let me see how this looks from UUID. Yes, UUID. Oh. Okay. Let me see. What's this? Oh, okay, TypeScript stuff. Hopefully this is going to work, I think. Oh. Types UUID. There we go. And I think this is a function. I'm not sure. Okay. So v4 pass UID. And let's call this. And I think that's it. So essentially what we did was to create to add a message function to the auction factory contract definition. That is the create auction. We pass in the form that we gather from the UI, well, the information that we gather from the UI using a form, and then passing the information to the create auction message. So we can send this to, we can execute this on the auction factory contract. So now that we have that, I think it's time for us to go ahead and write the create auction function. Now that we have the create auction message ready, now we should be able to create an auction. Remember, there is a two-step process that we need to follow. The first one is to increase the allowance on the sale contract, and the second one is to execute that create auction message. So the first thing that we need to do is to create the contract client required to call the increase allowance message on the sale token contract. So for that, I think I'm going to bind a onChange event and bind it to a function that will create any contract client required to execute. So we return that. Here we will need to create contract client from Griptape. And then we need to pass in the sell contract selected from this. So hopefully I can get the event from here, and therefore I'm gonna set a no for this. Well, any for now. Then this is going to be the address. Then we need to pass in the ID, contract address, the contract address for the add property. Definition in this case is going to be the snip20 def, right? Because it's in the snip20. Yeah, hopefully this will work. Let me just make sure this is going to work by printing out the contract address. Let's go back to our app. For some reason, this is not updating. So create auction. Let me just select a token here. Okay, so undefined is what we're getting. Well, if that's not the case, then sell contract. Let's just do that. Now, after we, well, every time we select a new token on the select, we're going to create the proper contract client to execute the increase allowance. So now that we have the create sell token client ready, we can start using that to first increase the allowance, then creating the auction. So let's go and get the contract. In this case, I'm going to call it the sell contract from the contract registry using the ref contract. Okay, so it's an if20 contract, and we need to use a forms value sell contract. Then we need to call the increase allowance. For this, we need two things. The first thing is the address of the auction contract. Factory, and I'm going to do some manual formatting here. I don't have any fancy tools, guys, to properly format, so bear with me. Now here is the auction factory at, and finally we need to pass in the amount. For that, we're going to use again the get amount format amount for token. Actually, it's more like, well, yeah, I think amount for token. In this case is I'm gonna do something really quick here. So I can access directly what I need. Sell contract, and then the amount is the form sell amounts, and this is the amount. I can call this sell amount. This will increase the allowance for that amount and giving it the auction factory rights to move those tokens. And then the next step would be to actually call the auction factory contract create auction. Before I do that, I need to define that as part of my auction factory contract type. So create auction. You need a form, which is of type create auction form, that returns a promise, returns a contract response, contract message response, that for us right now will return nothing. And we're going to call that, so create auction, and then passing in the form. And that's it. Now, again, I'm going to do some UX stuff to improve a little bit. I think you can omit this if it's very obvious that it's what it is. So loading dot value equals true. Then call these guys. Finally, then loading dot value equals true. Well, equals false, sorry. And let's expose the loading here. And I'm going to disable this while this is loading. Whoops. Sorry, guys. There we go. This looks good. I think the last thing that I would like to do is to, the same way we did with the React application, is to import use route from view router to route equals use route, sorry. Oh, actually, I think it's use router. And then when you go push. Whoops. Let's go to the home page after we finish. All right, guys, so this is how the create auction function looks. Essentially what we're doing is just executing the increase allowances, then executing the create auctions, all based on the information that we gather from the form. And then after that, we are just executing this message. We are transforming some of the data that is coming in from the form to properly be passed into the message. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's see how this works. So first of all, we're going to use, let's say, I'm going to use blind. I'm going to sell 2 blind. How many blind do I have? So I have 49 blind. Then I think I'm going to do 10 for, let's say, Powell. I'm going to say, I don't know, 2. is as a minimum bit of Powell, or 5, I guess, as a minimum bit of Powell. Which account am I? Well, okay. Then we need to set when is going to end. Let's say that is going to end 12 my time. And then a simple description. My blind to Powell auction. Let's hit create auction and see what happens. So first of all, we see that we are executing the increase allowance message on the blind token, in which the spender is the auction factory contract for this amount. Let's approve this. Once this finished, we should get another Kepler should pop up again with the create auction message execution. In this case, as we can see, the label is a UUID that we defined. The sell contract is blind with the proper code hash. The bid contract is Powell with the proper code hash, which is the same in this case. Sell amount 10 blind. Minimum bid is 5 Powell. Ends at this time, and the description for that. So let's see how that goes. Hopefully this will, yep, apparently this worked. This is our blind to Powell auction. If we go there, we can see that, yep, apparently this is the description I gave, and essentially all the information that I defined when I created the auction. So this is pretty much it for creating the auction. I think we are in a very good place right now, because the last thing that we need to do in order to do a full test of the whole workflow is to close an auction, and that's by doing or by executing the finalize message on the auction contract. So in this case, we need to modify the auction contract definition so we can call the finalize. And I think finalize have optional parameters that you can pass in if you want to, let's say, sort of renew or set a new end date and set a new minimum bid when you finalize the auction. But in this case, we are going to ignore that and just finalize the auction directly. So in this case, we need to go to the auction contract definition file, and we are going to write a new message function that is going to be close auction. So handle message will be in this case finalize, and now we don't need to run any specific to pass in any specific parameter. I think that's pretty much it. What we need for calling this message on the auction contract. And then we're going to the auction page and create a button to bind. When clicked, bind a function that will execute that particular message. So in this case, I'm gonna add that button here. This button will be close auction. Click. I'm going to call a close auction function. Going to create the close auction function here. We're going to loading value true, finally loading value false, and I'm going to call, I need to get the contract from the registry. Then I'm going to call the close auction that I need to for sure set on the promise contract message response. Need to set on my auction contract interface type, so I can call it here. And I need to return the close auction. I think it looks good so far. And I will add the disable state for when this
Hey, Luis.
to end. Okay.
One thing that I would say that might be of interest is whether or not you're the owner. Having things like check has bids and things like that, and even the place bid, the owner wouldn't be placing a bid on his own auction, I don't think. Although maybe they would, if they want to ensure that they win and they don't get a bad price or something. I don't know. Anyway, I thought maybe having that, but maybe that's after this step.
Yep, sure. Yeah, sure. We can do that. Now let me see if the close auction worked. So for instance, we have this auction, which is the blind to Powell, and let's see if this works. So in order to test this, I'm going to change my wallet to make a bid from another account. So I'm going to change to test. I'm going to refresh the page. Oh, I don't have any Powell. So let me go back and send some Powell to the test account from Whale. So let me send 30 Powell. go back to test and refresh the page. Cool. I have now 30 power. I can place a bid, let's say 10. So now test is bidding on the blind to Powell auction. That finished. Then if I go back to the whale account and refresh, I can check if this auction has any bids. Hopefully it will. Did we? Oh, I don't have any viewing key. This is something that you might want to take into consideration too. Always have a viewing key. I think I changed that component last time. We just leave it in a very weird state. But hopefully you have a viewing key now. Hold on a second, guys. Let me see if I do have a... Yeah, I do. Auction Factory. Well, this is Whale, I think. Yep. So, Auction Factory. Let me refresh. I'm just going to fix this a little bit very quickly. So that's viewing key. Is equal to viewing key. We don't need that. Check has viewing key. I'm going to print the viewing key. Make sure that we have one. And then if I have a viewing key, then show this message. If I don't have a viewing key, then just show the button. Okay. So let me see what's happening here. For some reason, I'm not getting my viewing key from the Auction Factory contract. I do have one. I do have one. 6n. Oh, I know what's happening. This is the auction factory contract from the other. I'm just gonna do this to make that to work. Because it has the same ID. Okay, so now I'm gonna check if it has bits. The auction has bits. This auction has bits. Is auction bits. Then I can close the auction. When I close the auction, then that bid is going to win. Therefore, I'm going to sell the 10 blind, and I'm going to get 10 Powell. So let's see if that works. Let's go and close. Let's finalize. Wait for the transaction to be completed. And then finally, I'm going to refresh. In this case, let's see if I got my 10 Powell. As you can see, I got 10 Powell, and the other person should have, well, now it's closed. The status is closed, and the other account should have 10 blind, which I think I don't have a viewing key for, but we can just go and create one to our, oh, there we go. I think I have a line here. Yeah, 10 blind, there we go. So yeah, now we just completed the workflow, and I think finally we can do what Sandy suggested about showing it that if that auction is, if you're the creator of the auction, I think we can essentially hide the check has bits, and I think that's pretty much it, because the close auction, well, closing the auction can only be performed before it ends, can only be performed by the creator, and then after the auction ends, anyone can close it. So maybe just by hiding the check has bits is enough. So the way that we could do that is by either checking the list active auctions, or what was the other approach we were discussing before, Sandy? I don't quite remember. It was something about it was something about if you're able to call the check has bits, actually, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I mean, one way we could do it is to create the list my auctions query and see if that auction essentially is part of your auctions. I wonder if active closed I wonder if when an auction is already closed, you're able to see them anyways. Oh, you can actually set if you want to see the active, the closed, or all. And the other way would be to, let's say that this is the owner, but let's change this owner to the test. Let's see what happens when I try to run the query. The check has bits. I think when you do this, you don't get any sort of error, I guess. Oh, but you're not able to, oh, well, I need to create a viewing key too. What do you get as a result for this? Let me go and see what we get as a result, just to make sure that that makes sense. So active auction, well, this is get balances, auction info, check has bits. Let's just print out this. Let's see the result for this. Oh, the viewing key error message, right? So one way we could do it very quickly is to if viewing key, but we can call that very early and then, you know, change any sort of its owner, let's say, boolean. By default, we're going to assume that it's not the owner. And then we're going to export that. Okay, return that so we can access that in our template. Then the if it's owner, and then essentially when we call the hasbits if result dot viewing key error, that means that this owner value if no he is the owner. We can call that very early to get auction info check has bits, and I think that's pretty much it. So well, obviously calling that will mean that we cannot do anything else. So we just do an early return there. And as you can see, if I'm there, can root properties of undefined has bits. If no. Oh no, I cannot do an early return there. Else, that's it. Oh, I'm doing things wrong. Sorry, guys. So yeah, if you don't have the viewing key error, that means that you are the owner, and therefore you should be able to do this. But if you are not the owner, you need to resolve the viewing key error. If there's a viewing key error, that means that you're not the owner. If there are not viewing key error, that means that you are the owner. We assume that you are not the owner. And then I think you need to do if result dot has bits. Yeah, I think so. I need to remove the console log that I left somewhere. Here we go. Okay. So in this case, I'm not the owner, therefore I cannot see the check has bits. But if I move on to whale, I'm going to see that I should be the owner of that. Therefore, I can check if this has any bits. In this case, I can't check that anymore. Well, I can check it, but the status is closed, so that doesn't make any sense to do. But for any other auction, I think it will make sense. As you can see, once the auction gets closed, it's no longer part of the active auctions query. So if you want to query that, you need to look for listing the closed auctions. But for instance here, I can see that I can check if it has bits. It doesn't have any bits. I know it's a little bit tricky to see that, but if I move on to test again, and I refresh the page, I'm not the owner, therefore I cannot check if this has bits or not, but I can actually place a bid for this auction. So let's say that I'm going to do 10 for 2 girl. Again, this will place a bid for this auction. If I go back as well again, I can then check, close, and get my tokens. As you can see, this auction has bits. The check has bits button doesn't make any sense right now, but if I close, I am getting 10 secret for those 2 girl. And there we go. 10 secret, and the oracle should have get the 2 girl. Just to confirm that. So, well, it was 1 girl or 2 girl? 1 girl. One girl, yeah. So 3 girl here. If I go home, only one action will remain. And yep. So I think that's pretty much it, guys, from this stream. We created an auction using the UI, and we also closed the auction. We tested the whole workflow. So I don't know, Sandy, you have...
That's great. No, that's yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I guess this sort of concludes it. Yeah, and I think so. You got that thing that I was talking about, where you determine whether or not the user is the owner or not. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, well, thanks everyone for watching. I think that's about it. We'll be doing office hours tomorrow, so if you're watching now, come join us for those. No, yeah, take care, everyone.
Take care, guys. Bye.